Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Twitch, and welcome to another edition of Lab Rats Culture. My next guest, I've known for a while. This guy has
How many
been.
years has it been?
It's been some years now.
A few, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. This guy's been a friend. He's been a roommate. I've seen this guy hustle. I've seen him plan. I've seen him execute. He was actually one of the first people that I've actually seen build a substantial situation from YouTube videos.
Right.
I first met this guy on a show called The Wade Robson Project. Shout out Wade Robson.
What's up, Wade? Yeah.
Since I've known him, he has gone on to work with the likes of Justin Timberlake, Sean Kingston, Jesse McCartney. You know those hoverboards that everybody was going crazy for? Remember the dance videos that you saw? Yeah, he's the man behind them. Welcome, David Moore, to the lab, man. What's happening, brother? What's going on, man? It's good to see you. Is it weird for me to just be talking about you and you just got to sit here? And
a little bit,
like,
yeah. I was like, okay.
I got to let the people know, man. I got to let them know.
Yeah.
Dude, but thank you so much for coming. And so to start us off, man, could you paint a picture of childhood for us? Like that's we're going to start from the beginning, David.
Yeah. My childhood was fairly normal. I grew up, I have two sisters and one brother. Everybody's older, so I'm youngest child.
Okay.
Grew up in Orlando, Florida, so it was a big at the time when I was like becoming a teenager, like boy bands and that whole era was starting. So that definitely influenced me a lot. As far as dancing, I didn't even think about or know about dancing till maybe like 16, like 15 or 16 years old.
Really?
Yeah. And before that, it was like all basketball, like a little bit of football, but basketball was like life, like basketball for 362 days a year. Like, you know what I mean? Pretty close to every day a year. But when I was like 16, I started to learn, just like see stuff on TV, like some of the NSYNC and the big VMA performances, which Wade Robson was choreographing.
Shouts Wade.
Yeah, which I'll circle back to that.
Right.
But yeah, I saw these big, like huge performances and I was like, the funny thing was I feel like a lot of people see those and they're like, I want to be that person behind them on stage.
Right.
And I saw it and I was like, who put this together? Like, who made up that? Like, who made these moves? Who told her that she's gonna come out of the locker? Who said that they're gonna jump out of the marionette, like the doll thing for the NSYNC? Like, in my mind, I was like so intrigued on like who was behind the scenes. Basically.
Okay, got it.
So it's funny because I never like had that itch of like background dancing as a performer, which a lot of people have, and I think it's amazing. And it's definitely like something that you do like that's when you're on stage. It's empowering. But for me, I was always like so intrigued by the creation process and how they got there. So started watching TV. I was learning all the videos that I could just off of TV. I would do the whole like, it's funny because at that time, I'm going to date myself a little bit.
Yes.
At that time was VHS tape.
Let's go. Let's go.
VHS.
Let's go. Shout out VHS.
So
VCRs. Let's go.
So I had a blank VHS tape just on deck and the VCR ready to go. So like my mom, my parents, my brother, they knew like if something dance came on TV, on MTV or whatever, they would yell, yo, we got a dance music video. I'm running in, boom, hit record, let it play out, and then now I have like a master class basically for the next 2 days.
100%.
Put that TV into the mirror and I learn it when they go left, I go left. So I'm basically like taking class from the TV, right? So that was like kind of my first dance classes, I guess. And then I made an NSYNC cover band in high school. Yeah. All the dirt. I got 4 guys who weren't interested in dance at all and didn't care, but I was like, yeah, we can do talent show, try to win some money, like girls might like it. Like I'm showing them the NSYNC videos, like girls like the NSYNC videos. So if there's 5 of us and we act like them, maybe they'll like us, right? So we did a few talent shows and we would basically do like their VMA performances, like their huge mega mixes. we would perform that, and then we started getting hired to like perform at birthday parties and stuff, like $100, and then we would split it all, like just basically like some food money. Yeah,
right. So y'all were doing like the lip sync battle situation before lip sync battle was even a thing,
boom,
right?
Yeah, before that even popped off. Yeah, so we were doing that, like we had the whole headsets and everything. Like we would do, and we did like This I Promise You, like intros. Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, so then as far as like getting into dance class, one of my friends in high school was like, on Tuesday nights there's a hip hop class at this studio and down the street or whatever, and I'm like, what's a hip hop class? Like I literally didn't, dance conventions weren't like that huge, and there wasn't So You Think You Can Dance, there wasn't ABDC. Right. I mean, this was only like 15 years ago, so it wasn't like.
I mean, it wasn't like crazy,
but like prehistoric. But it was right
before. Honestly, it was right before all this stuff hit. Like it was right before that. Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. So it was just like, okay, I'll go take this class, see what's up. Yeah. But I didn't understand like the format. I was very awful taking class, so didn't really like do that good in class learning stuff like that. And then decided to just like be more of a teacher and teach dance more. So I started teaching classes in my high school, just kind of like an extracurricular thing, and more people who were interested in dance, not just the guys that I was forcing to be in a boy band, would come and take class. So those were some of my first classes, but they were just like jam sessions, and like we would learn. I would teach 2 or 3 8 counts, and everybody would freestyle, and we would like woo each other, you know. So that was like kind of my first training, and then as far as like my transition to like actually knowing that this is a career, or like this is something that people do, kind of transitions to Wade Robson a little bit. And on MTV they were showing making the tour, making the band, making the video, and it was like a BTS of all the NSYNC and the big artists at that time. So that was my favorite show by far, like that ever came out, and still kind of is. Like if you go back and watch it, just the way that they put it together, it's an amazing show still. Yeah. So for me, I was like, making the video, and it was pop for NSYNC, Dirty Pop.
Where Wade had to stand in for Joey.
Where Wade had to stand in for Joey because he hurt his, and I was like, okay, this is the man, right? No, but Dirty Pop was like before there was Napster and like all the everybody could download music illegally. They put like hundreds of thousands of dollars into music videos. Right. Now like 30,000, 40,000 is like a good music video budget. Right. Before then, like NSYNC Dirty Pop, I think was like 200,000, 220,000 that they put into the video. And so they're making these huge big production videos, and Wade was just like the mastermind of it all. Not only did he produce the song, but he helped write it, and he's showing the video and saying what colors they should have in the background, and choreographed it, and also stood in, like you were saying. And to me, I was like, idol. There it is.
Of course,
like he's 100%er. Like he's not just the choreographer, and he's not just the person that wrote the song, and he's not just the producer. It was like, how can he encompass all these talents and be good at all of them, right? So it kind of inspired me to like not just focus on one thing at the time. So that's when I started doing like video editing, got a camera, started to shoot more stuff. Like to me, I looked at Wade as an amazing choreographer, but I also looked at him as like an amazing like person, multitasker.
Right, of course.
And he can do so many different things, and he could be successful at so many different things. He doesn't have to stay in one lane. So for me, that like really inspired me on like wanting to be a director and learning how to do that side of it. So where like in the future, like you were saying, YouTube stuff, like I didn't have to go and call anybody or say like, if I wanted to shoot a video, I had the camera and I knew how to edit it afterwards, and I choreographed it because that's what we're doing, you know? So for me, it was the kind of like, it was better for me to learn the most that I could, so that I didn't have to ask a lot of people on the way up, you know?
Absolutely.
And it makes it a little less like financially, like people are spending a lot of money, especially now in like this digital social age. If you only know choreography, you gotta like spend hella money to make money.
Absolutely.
Like, because you have to be putting out content, you have to have like these cool videos or whatever, like, and to do that you have to hire people.
Exactly. And as the video quality, and as like the quality of videos, not just talking about the picture of it, the quality at which you show your videos is only growing, right?
For sure.
It's like it's no longer a thing to just kind of set the camera in front, and it's a whole
how you shoot it
situation at this point in time. But let me ask you this though, just to backtrack a little bit. to me, you seem like a naturally your preparation almost seems very natural. Is this something that was instilled in you in home base? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, did you is it your parents that taught you?
Right.
You whatever you do, you want to make sure that you prepared, because
of course,
it's. I said it in the beginning, but like literally everything, I feel like everything that I've heard you say, I'm going to do something like this, or I'm thinking something like this, I've seen you do it. You know what I mean? And seen you put the work and the steps in behind it. So did that come naturally, or was that taught?
No, I appreciate that, but maybe I just didn't tell you the stuff that I didn't execute.
Well,
so
good job.
I didn't vocally express the ones that were failures. But so no, not everything was executed. I would love to think that in life, but I just feel like that's where a lot of stuff gets lost, is the execution. But the ideas are there a lot. But I think definitely my parents. My dad is like hardworking. Like he does hotel management. So it's funny because when I wanted to move to LA and drop out of I went to Florida State for 2 years. And so when I wanted to drop out of Florida State and move to LA, they never knew dance either. So, and at the time it was less of a career. And so they were thinking that's not logical. It's not a career, my dad's very like business mindset, business oriented, and works super hard, like 7 days a week. So I think I got a little bit of my work ethic from him, watching him for sure. And even when he was home, he was working. So it was less like that grind. I definitely got that for sure from him. So when I wanted to move to LA, they were like, no, we should stay in school. And then I was like, okay, cool. And went back to my room for like 3 months. And then I was like, I think that I might want to move to LA. And they're like, you should go ahead and go back to college for 6 more months. And I'm like, okay, back to Tallahassee. Like I went through like this courting process of like trying to get the courage to just move. And also get them on board with the idea of it. So it wasn't until like the 4th time that I asked them finally, and my mom was more open to it, and my mom was kind of like a little bit on the background, like behind my dad, like if you want to, you should do it, like just take the leap. And so like the 4th time I asked them, I kind of was just like, I hope I have you guys' approval and blessing. But I'm 20, I think I moved out at 21, because I went for 2 years. So I'm 21 now, and I feel like I can make a little more adult decisions. So I kind of just told him that I was moving out. At the time, my dad wasn't very happy about it. No, like my mom supported me for sure. She's like the mom. But my dad was like, you're making a mistake. Like he just, I get it now, because all he knew was the business life.
And dance was not
a business necessarily.
Was not what it is now then at all. By no stretch of the imagination.
For sure. So I could, looking back on it, I can completely understand. Like if I was a dad now and that dance is what it was back then, I would more than likely 100% say the same thing. Because you got to think like long-term career, salary, all this stuff. So finally I just took that leap, and I think like it wasn't until like 6 years I had been in LA 6 years, and my parents came out to visit me finally. And I just purchased a house. And that was a huge thing. And I was just like, I have this show too that I wanted them to see, and I just got a house, and will you guys finally come to LA? And finally came to LA and had like this long talk with my dad, and it was like kind of like this full circle moment where he was just making sure I understood where he was coming from at the time, because it did hurt my feelings a little bit.
Of course.
But it also, I will tell you this, and some people like when sometimes I do like Q&As, and they're like, what's like a good for parents, like what's good advice? And I think good advice for parents is if your kids want to move to LA, don't support them financially. Don't. Because I think for me, it was like, not that I had to prove it to my dad, but I just had to do it or I was done. And a lot of people are like, couldn't do it this month, like, and their parents hit them with the rent check. I couldn't do it this month, parents hit them with the rent check. Like I can't have groceries, boom, grocery check. And it gives you a little bit like more to fall back on. And less to lose. And I just feel like I've seen so many people come and go out of LA, like with the financial support of their parents.
Right, I see.
And so, like, not by choice, I was not supported financially by my parents. I wanted them to because I didn't have any money. Right. But it just kind of like gave me that extra like it's got to happen, or I'm moving back to Orlando, and I just was like too committed to the life of it to move back.
I see.
So yeah.
So when you're there, so now that you finally come out, you know what I mean? When you're finally out to LA, what was that process of kind of getting your grounding back? Because, you know, I moved from Alabama, and you know, when you're out of the household and you're in a completely new place, right? And you're semi-adulting, right? You know what I mean?
So you think you are.
You think you are. You know, I feel like sometimes socially there's a lot of pitfalls and traps that you can fall into, because LA is a very social place as well, right? You know, and I think sometimes you can fall into the trap of thinking because you are hanging out with folks and y'all might drop into a class that you have taken before at some point in time, or blah blah blah. Then you think, oh, I'm training and I'm still on task. So what was your process of, you know, almost building a curriculum or a plan for yourself when you were here, like keeping the mission in mind while also networking, blah blah blah. What was the bigger picture for David when he first landed here?
For me, I think what I understood off the top of like just right there moving out is that like you're your own business. Like nobody, once you move out there, I think that's something that I got from my dad too, because he was like, nobody's gonna be helping you. Like, so like once I first moved out there, I was just thinking, I didn't have an agency, I didn't have like a manager, so for me it was like I had to create the flyers for class, and I had to find the designer to do it, and I had to create. When YouTube first came out, I was like, this is awesome, because the first thing that I thought in my brain is, now I can post one of my class, like when I teach on Monday, I can post my class on Tuesday and then tell people, come on Wednesday, here's the class. Which is now like not like saying I did that before anybody, but I'm sure.
But I mean, but you were one of the first to do it.
But I'm sure maybe I wasn't the only person that thought that at the time. But that's when I see YouTube, I wasn't like, oh, cool, I can post like a cell phone video. I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is so awesome for Millennium, because I can post a dance class and people can say, I like this class, I want to go take it. Like it's a visual representation of it. So that was like a huge thing for YouTube for me. I made the account like right when YouTube came out. Just the first, like you were saying, the first couple of years of being in LA is so important, because people get lost in like chasing the dream, or like they see like Entourage, the show Entourage, and they feel like they should have that lifestyle in 3 years or less, or they failed, you know? So it's like, it's hard to really stay grounded unless you have people, like a strong circle of friends, which I think, and you were one of them, to be honest. Like we lived together. I don't know if I was the first person you lived with, but and likewise. So I feel like that was a huge thing, because you've always been genuine and 100% like real, and I've never seen you like try to think like have this Hollywood eyes for a second and like try to do all this twisted stuff. So for me, it was like you and a few other people that I moved out with, some of the Seattle people, that I just knew had the same heart as me, and that we're gonna stay grounded. And if one of us were to be straying or doing something a little crazy, or fall into like all the drugs that are everywhere, you know, like we can harness each other's energy and be like, okay, this is why we came, and this is what we want to do. You know? And another friend of mine, Brian Tanaka, he's been like my brother for my whole life, basically. Feels like my whole life. He was one that's like, we both on accounts have told each other to like chill out. I don't know if I can cuss, but
you cuss. Okay, you're right.
To like chill out, like like you're doing a little too much, or like you're chasing the wrong thing. Like I feel like maybe this is what you want to do right now, but I feel like you're chasing the wrong alley. You know, like we've had those conversations,
which is huge. So huge, because we're also in a place too, and let me also expand on this. So people listening / watching can kind of feel involved with what we're talking about. We're also in a place too where there's a lot of people pleasers for the sake of being able to get on. We're in Los Angeles right now, so there's a lot of people that move out here on a daily basis that are readily available to tell you whatever you need to hear, so they can then join you in your inner circle and blah blah blah.
I have a name for them.
So go ahead.
Relationship opportunists. Yes. Boom. Relationship opportunists.
Yikes. Like, and I mean, just absolute traps. So
it's like
as he's talking
mirroring,
about,
like whoever you're with, it's like whatever you think you might be able to get out of it. And don't get this wrong, because some people are just genuinely nice to everybody.
Right.
And that's amazing.
Right.
Beautiful heart.
Yeah.
But it's like the motives. Like sometimes people's ulterior motives.
Exactly.
And they want to be, whenever they're with Twitch, they want to be like, what music Twitch likes and what you're doing. And then they're with me, we're doing video editing, da da da. And then when they're with like such and such, they're this certain way. And it's just kind of like, who are you?
Right, exactly.
If you're everybody, then when you're around everybody.
Right, 100%. So how did you, I mean, so here's my next question leading into that. Looking at the game when you came here then, to what it is now on a social level is what I'm asking. Not just what are some of the pitfalls that you experience that you might be able to share with some of our aspiring listeners to to how to carry themselves socially when they come out here, especially if you are attractive to relationship opportunities. If you are regularly getting hit up to sub at Millennium, right? The phone starts ringing for guest spots, crazy, right? You know what I mean? You might have a piece at Carnival,
right?
You know what I mean? So as these things start to develop for you, as you're chasing your dream, what are some things that could kind of help them along their way socially?
Right. I mean, I think like the main thing is like you really find out who people are over time, so it takes time. A lot of times people are really quick to jump into like, this is my new best friend. Roomies, we're best friends. Like no matter who they are.
Right.
Because of like whatever circles they're in. And, so I think that like taking your time with relationships, especially if you want to have like meaningful friendships, friendships and meaningful relationships, those develop over time. And those are gonna like, rarely do I feel like it's more the people that I don't immediately, oh my God, we're best friends. And the more the people that I'm kind of like, we're feeling each other out and we've hung out a couple of times, had a few like good conversations. Those are the people I think like I'll be able to grow with and be able to benefit from and likewise. Not to say that like the instant friendships are shallow and fake, but sometimes it just feels like that's the case. Like, and so like, that's a red flag to me sometimes when people move out to LA and they're like, oh my God, like, like not in a humble way, like David Moore, I've been watching your videos. Like,
no, of course,
I'm going to be like, Monday and Wednesday, 6 o'clock, I'll be there. And they're just like so extra about it, which is like cool. Like for the moment, I'm like, yeah, thank you.
Right, exactly.
But then I always have to think like, are there ulterior motives, especially if they're choreographers as well, or like aspiring choreographers, or like people. It's funny because like sometimes I don't want to like reference, but like sometimes people will have been out here for 3 or 4 weeks, and then they know I'm going out of town, and they'll be like, oh, like you're going out of town next week? Yeah. Would you mind like telling Millennium like that you want me to sub your class?
That's too much.
And I'm like,
That puts them in an awkward spot, y'all.
First of all, like I've only known you for a month or two.
Right.
And now like it's just weird, right? Like am I supposed to hit Millennium and be like, I'm leaving next week, but you should have this person sub my class because they asked me to ask you. Like and from my point of view, it should be like, because there's people who I think are incredibly talented, like Alexander Chung from Canada.
Yes, sir.
There's people who I think are incredibly talented, and I saw him in Canada when I was doing World of Dance. And when he moved out here, he was only here a few weeks, but I thought he was ready to teach. He had a studio in Canada, and I've been training people for 6 years already.
Right.
And I just thought he was in the right place to hold a class and murder it.
Absolutely.
So he was in LA for a few weeks, and I was like, I'm gone next week. This guy should sub.
Right.
But I feel like that should be our decision.
Of course, absolutely.
So it's just like a side note thing, like that. Different people are ready for at different times, but for me, it was like, if I think someone is really like ready to go, I'm gonna try to put you in a place to succeed. Absolutely. Of course, especially for friends,
And I think also that the action should kind of speak for themselves too. I think it's incredibly important to have, like David was talking about, friends that actually hold you accountable, that are not afraid to tell you the truth when you're doing too much. Because I also want to say this too, is that hindsight is 20/20, and I speak from a place where I have seen people play themselves, and I have played myself.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But just out here being young, dumb, and eager.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? And you happen to run into one of your idols in happenstance, because now you're out here with now you're out here with Marty Kudelka. You're out here with Eddie Morales. You know what I mean? Ed Moore, Swoop. You're out here with them now. You're running to them at the studio. So of course, just by love of the game, and just like so many feelings of like, I saw you in this, I saw you put together this. Yo, what, how can I be down? I get that, but take your time. I absolutely agree. So what was it like for you out here amongst the people that you had been watching the way they put things together? Being able to have someone like Wade or Marty in front of you, whether it be in class or just like right after class or before, and they happen to come through, and you have this on the tip of your tongue, like, yo, just to say some dumb shit, because I'm nerding out. But like
if you were a rapper, you about to drop bars immediately.
Absolutely.
I was walking into the studio. Good.
Yeah, saying, yo, put these headphones on.
You should listen to it.
So what was that like for you, Dave? Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, it's funny because like, I think what was really cool about both of our situations is we did the Wade Robson project, which you sort of touched on, but it was like So You Think You Can Dance before So You Think You Can Dance in a different format. But we did that, and me and Twitch were in the top four. Top four. But Wade ended up doing a few jobs after the show, and he used the top four for a few of the jobs. So it was like, and that actually helped me, like when I had no money and moved out, and to not have to, because I was planning 9 to 5, like a little barista Starbucks joint, and then like the class on the side. I was planning that, but those few jobs, like just a couple of industrials and some like some stuff from Wade, were financially helped. But that's beside the point. That process, as far as like, now I've just idolized this guy on TV, on MTV, from making the band, making the tour, I've learned all of his routines that he's made up, that have aired on TV, and went on his TV show and got 4th place. Absolutely. And now we're in a dance studio with him, and he's creating brand new pieces for Adidas, for Sirius. And we're just like, I'm learning his creative process. And like, some of my most memorable moments in life, like clear as day memories, are like him freestyling in the studio. Absolutely. Sorry, we're going down just a quick memory lane, and then we're done. But we did a job with him, and I forget, it was like some Justin Timberlake song, but the song was just playing, and he just went off at the end. Absolutely. And it was at that time that me and Twitch were freestyling like every night. Absolutely. with a group of guys. We would just like, it was just freestyle. Like after midnight to like 3 a.m. was a freestyle. Every single night. So to see now Wade freestyle in real life, it was mind blowing. Just everything I expected it to be, it was. Like it lived up to every single second and moment. And like, I literally was in the back of the studio, like low key crying, and we had a few moments. But of course. Anyways, that process, and learning how Wade put a show together, and learning how he did the music for it too, and had like the voiceovers, and it had like a storyline, and it wasn't just like a dance performance. And so I think that molded my brain, unknowingly molded my brain so much of the time, because if I was doing that now, I would analyze every single thing that he did, because just for the brain that we have now. Right. Why has he did this? Why did he have this transition? Why did boom? Yeah. But I think at that age, we were just like soaking it in, and not realizing that we were learning so much. Exactly. And we were just like enjoying the process, which I think is amazing. Absolutely. So I feel like that was my first thing of like really learning how to put a show together. So like if I did carnival or something, the first carnival I did was like adult playground or something like that, and it was like everybody was doing like dances with jump ropes, and then like had like the monkey bar stuff,
and
had
like, somebody come out on the little tricycle,
Brian Tanaka on the tricycle
to regulate, I think.
Yeah, that was it.
You know what I mean, Doc? I know what's up, bro.
Let me know, Doc. It was Tanaka came out on regulate.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like when I was able to do carnival, I was like, I don't want to just do a dance performance. I want to have like a storyline, a setting, a concept. Yeah. If I could produce music like Wade, I would want to produce it, but I didn't, so I did regular. Yeah. So to me, I think that was like such an amazing process, and especially it being Wade, you know. And, of course. And there, I remember times too that I, because I was kind of doing choreography at the time, but I wasn't teaching anything. And my choreography was basically like a watered down version of Wade, and like a little bit of Marty Kudelka, to be honest, like, and like the little, like for some MJ sprinkle, but to be honest, I wasn't really that influenced by MJ. Okay. It's in my movement, but it's him as a dancer, obviously. Yeah. So there was a couple of times where I was able to show him a routine, and he gave me the best advice in the world. When I showed him a routine, he said 2 things: you're 6 feet tall. So that's something you have that not everybody has. Right. So, and not a lot of dancers can move like you at 6 feet tall. Right. So use your length, like get outside of your body. Right. And a lot of my choreography was like in here. Yeah. Right. And I'd be doing all this. Right. And I was like, that's genius. Right. Like, why not do some crazy long stuff? Like, exactly. And then I thought back to the stuff he was choreographing for me on the show when he choreographed like the solos for me. Yeah. It was all this really long, nice movement. Yeah. And it's stuff that I never did. Right. I never trained that way. I never was taught that way. Right. But I was like all these moments of like, you're right. Okay. Like I should use my body. And, and I was kind of like, cause a lot of dancers, the norm was like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". Like that's kind of like right in the good zone. Right. So I just thought I was kind of like an out of place tall guy. Of course. So you had to dance smaller. Right? Yeah. I had to dance smaller in order to stay with these guys. Right. And his advice was just be you, basically, like be the 6-footer that you are. All right. And the other thing was be influenced. I'm Wade. Be influenced by my style, but find your own style, basically. Yeah. Because like I was saying at the time, it was 85% Wade. Right. You know, like 6% Marty, and then like 5% me. You know. Right. So I was like, yes, okay. So he basically just like put me on my way to say like find you and make it about how long you are in a certain extent. Right. So that started like my whole choreography. Yeah. And so then it was in like, I think it was my 3rd year in LA is when I started teaching at Millennium. And I feel like it took me a year or so after that Wade Robson era. Like that was like 2 years after his show, I think was like our whole era of like Super Wade. Right. And it took me about a year after that to really like decide what's me. And it also took me not taking class a lot, to be honest. Right. Because I was in super train mode, class mode, take all these classes, and I never want to say don't take class, because as a dancer, training is pinnacle, it's key. Yeah. Of course, yeah. But for me, it was like I was taking a lot of Marty's class, and so when I went to go make up a dance, I just saw a lot of like style, like elegant, like cool style, smooth Marty stuff. Right. And then I would take this such and such class, and I think that's kind of a problem with some choreographers that I see now. Like sometimes I'll see a choreographer and I can kind of pick apart the routine and say, this is Brian Puspos. Right. This is Wade Marty. Yes. And it's a few 8 counts, and it's a few 8 counts of all the choreographers that they like. Right. And I'm not saying they're forging 8 counts, but that's a style
they're replicating a style. They're replicating a
style that someone is known for and that someone has been doing for years and years. Exactly. So if I can just look at it and say that's that person's style, then it's kind of like, absolutely. I've already, you know. Exactly. So to me, it was like not taking as much class and really just like making up a lot of different dances. Like I started to just make up a dance a day. Like when I wasn't doing stuff, I would try to choreograph for nothing. Like not, I have class next week or I have to do this video or whatever. I like this song or I don't like this song. Make up a dance next day, make up a dance next day, make up a dance, so that my muscle memory was a little bit more like in tune with the creation process. And it wasn't, I did that for maybe a year, to be honest. And the amount of routines I made is crazy. I'm not saying they were great routines by any means. They were just routines.
But something to be said though. And this is what kind of what I was talking about at the beginning. It's the consistency of your creative output, like since I've known you. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of glad you just told that story, because this is no lie, y'all. Like I've seen mad David Moore routines.
Yes.
Mad, that whether they were used or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because he was always kind of workshopping, putting something together. You know, I still remember vividly. There was like when David started. Sorry, we're going back to memory lane. We're gonna be dipping. We're gonna be dipping in and out of this, y'all.
It's really hard.
It is, because especially where you are right now too. I remember there was one of the first times David taught at Millennium, and a choreographer by the name of Roro came into class one time, and you talking about geek. These are, listen, we're fans. We're fans of dance and all that. So Roro comes in and sits down and watches Dave's class, and
it may have been like the third time that I taught him.
Do you know what I mean?
I remember thinking like, I'm not ready for this.
Absolutely. But he walked out and he was like, man, y'all look like y'all having fun. And I'm looking at David like, son, you made it.
Right? Roro just big ups your class.
Exactly. Yeah. Man. So it's a special thing to see the progress of where you are right now. And all of that preparation, man, it put you in such great places to do great work, man. Now, something I do want to ask you though is I know that Marty was somebody that you looked up to as well, and really respected his process and stuff like that. So, could you talk about the process of meeting Marty for the first time, and then how that developed into being able to work closely with him? Because for those that don't know Marty Kudelka, I don't know where you've been, what you've been paying attention to. I mean, he's Justin Timberlake's exclusive choreographer. But that's a small piece of a much bigger picture.
Resume,
but also the camp that he keeps with him is not everybody's getting in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
You're not gonna ask Marty to call Millennium and ask if you can sub a class. It's not gonna happen. You might not even get that close to get conversation. You know what I mean? So please kind of walk us through meeting to eventually, being
Working
able to work together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I would say that like Wade and Marty were the two idols of mine. And it's funny because the first 4 or 5 years that I knew Marty, my name was Big Man. Like in class. And it's funny now because we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it now, look back on it as how funny it was. But it wasn't that immediate friendship. And our ages were different. So it wasn't like when I first moved out here, he was like the amazing, creative, successful choreographer that he is. And I was like, trying to be a dancer. Right. So we're definitely in two different worlds. And so like whenever I was in class, it would be like, oh, thanks, Big Man. Like, thanks for coming. Like never knew my name. Really.
Right.
And then, I don't know, like it was very natural, which I think, like I was saying before, is a good thing. Some of my friends started, like Ivan, I was good friends with. Ivan started dancing with him a little bit more. He knew all of us because we were in his class religiously.
Right.
Our little friend circle. But then we started playing golf a couple of times together.
Right.
And I think it was what he appreciated about me was how I was making videos at the time. When I first started making videos, when I first started doing like concept videos, like when I had my YouTube channel for a couple years in, I did like hook versus bridge, a couple like really storylined out concept videos, scenes, and all this stuff. And that's when he like first started to take notice, I think, a little more of me. And yeah, just created a friendship through like not even dance, just like playing golf. We had that in common, and had mutual friends.
Right.
And then one time he was just like, we were playing golf. I think it was, I don't remember where we were, but I remember he was like, we should just like collab on something and shoot a video. And in the back of my mind, I was like, down. But he made it so like nonchalant that I like had to feel like,
so you had to return.
I was like, we should like
that.
just like put some moves together, and then like we'll just like shoot it, and then like maybe we'll like put it out on YouTube. I don't know. Like, maybe other people will see it and see that we did something together, and I don't know. That's kind of cool. But yeah, we created a video called "The End Is the Beginning," and it was super conceptual again, and it was really cool. Like that's when we became friends. Was the creation process of that. Just like sitting down and saying like, okay, what do we want to do? Like, what's the video? What's the concept? And like just kind of joking around. That was kind of our first like one-on-one time. And just realizing that like our personalities had a decent amount in common, right? So we did that video, and then for a few years, I was assisting him. We ended up doing one of the, I would say like top 3 jobs that I've done so far in my life was the Jacksons. The Jacksons had a Vegas residency. Like Tito, Randy, like the whole and so that was, and this was after MJ. This was like 2012. So, but they still doing all the hits like Dancing Machine, ABC. And one of the craziest moments of that was Marty was telling me, so Dancing Machine, they want to do the bridge of Dancing Machine, but they want to change the chorus up a little bit. So do you want to go ahead and just like take that chorus? And at the time, I thought I was just assisting him. Like, you do the moves, and I'll just, like, make sure that this part's on, and you can, like, go have a Gatorade, and I'll be over here, like, to, like, run them, right? And so then he was like, do you want to choreograph for the Jacksons, but also the chorus of Dancing Machine? The most, like, one of the most iconic songs and dance songs. It's called Dancing Machine. So that process was nerve-wracking as shit. Like, it was, I watched all the different performances of Dancing Machine that they've ever had, because they like tweak it a lot. And then I just like watched a lot of Marty's stuff that he did for them, because he choreographed one of their tours prior to the Vegas residency. So yeah, I was just trying to really like research it, and I just was thinking like, don't be too in the box to where like, why am I here? If it just looks like what the video or what Marty did, then what am I bringing to the table? Don't be too outside of the box to where like it's too like trendy or like not like classic like they are. And don't do like too much in general, because they just don't dance like. And my style is like fun, all of my body, you know, like. So, I put together a chorus, and when I'll never forget when I was teaching it to them. It's like it's like one of those moments in time that you could like wish that I had like the contact lenses that could record video camera. I'm standing in the middle of them, so there's two brothers, and I'm like the symbolism. Not that I'm ever MJ, that I'm ever MJ, but like at one point in life, he stood there, right? Teaching them the chorus, Dancing Machine. They're like not saying anything about it, right? They're just learning it. It's cool. Some little steps, boom, boom, boom. Little foot move that's like kind of an airwalk, but like a little bit of my twist on it. Ooh, okay. I get a little woo from Tito, who never talks. Ooh, okay. Put the music on. They say, "We're just gonna watch you do it one time." I'm like, okay. Marty's in the corner sitting down. Marty knows everything that's going through my mind. It's no, and I've already had all the geek out talks with Marty before rehearsal, so it's not nothing new to him. So now they're just sitting back on the wall, sitting there. Dancing Machine goes on. I'm doing it. They're all, because they're not like easy. They're not gonna be wooing nothing. They've seen dance their entire life. Absolutely. It's the one little airwalk move with the little David Moore twist on it. I go to do the move. Randy runs, boom, top. Do the move again. Do the move again. Do the move again. Do it with the music. Nah, do it with the music. Plays the music again. They had me do it like 6 times, and I was like, and at that time where I was like, okay, like I feel like I sort of succeeded in this chorus a moment. Yeah, at least if it's just for this little 3% that they liked. Yeah. So that was just like the rehearsal process was so like crazy and yeah, like just being in there with them, like one quick story, just because I think this is a really funny story or amazing story actually. But when Michael did Billie Jean on what
Motown Twin Club.
Yeah, and he had the sequin jacket. Yeah. When he debuted the Moonwalk, why was he wearing the sequin jacket? Let's talk about it.
All right.
Right.
Listen up. Let's go.
So they're in the dressing room, and this is actually on a lunch break. We're all having lunch with the Jacksons. Me, Marty, and all the Jackson brothers having some. Right. They were having barbecue chicken. Okay. Just to be clear.
Okay.
So we're all eating lunch. They just started talking about it as a group. I'm trying to think who told the story, but it was basically like a 4Z. Like they all 4 told it. Yeah. So they're in the dressing room. They all have their outfits on. And Michael just has the white shirt and the pants, and he's like, I feel like I need something else, like for when I'm spinning. Like he's talking through it. However, they got the stylist. The stylist trying on all this different stuff. Doesn't work. Finally, they're like, all right, cool. We'll just go with this, right? We sit down. They're ready. 5 minutes before stage, their mom walks in to tell them, good luck, kill it out there, whatever words. Yeah. Mom is wearing a sequin jacket. Mom is a lot smaller. Not a lot smaller, but smaller than MJ.
All right.
Michael's, Mom, that jacket. That's exactly what I had in my mind. That's exactly what I wanted to wear. Runs over, takes it off, puts it on. It fits short. That started the style of people wearing jackets that fit short. Not because the stylist said, yo, this jacket fits short, I think it's tight. Because it was his mom's size. Not like, that's why it was, because it's like the shortcut. Man, and then like the 80s turned into like shortcut jackets. Yeah. Like that was the move.
You heard it here first.
Exactly, yeah. So he took his mom's jacket and started, and not only performed the most iconic performance ever in his mom's jacket, which is even more meaningful for like life and love and like your mom.
100%.
But then like on accident, I know he didn't put it on and be like, this is going to be a new style for 10 years. Like the 80s, this is going to represent the 80s for jackets. He just put it on because he liked it from his mom, bro. Like that's how accidentally legendary Michael Jackson is. Like he's just accidentally, in the best way possible, accidentally legendary.
Accidentally started
he's
quick,
purposely legendary for 1,000 reasons, but like accidentally for just liking his mom's jacket. So that was just a crazy story for me, that like when people are like, oh, the Jacksons, like that's so cool. How was it? If they have time, I'm like, you gotta hear this story because you've watched that performance so many times.
Of course.
And then you're like thinking to yourself, that's the sequin jacket. Like I already know the sequin jacket. Like it's my friend. Yeah. Exactly. And now you know like the story of that your friend. Yeah.
God, that's amazing.
So yeah.
Oh wow.
That's a little side note.
No, but thank you for that.
Yeah. But back to but that's just like one of the biggest things that I got, that Marty kind of like got me, I guess, or like I don't know how to say it in the right words, but
well, I mean, that's absolutely. And
the memories of that.
Job. Are there any words that come to mind that how earlier you kind of referenced the advice that Wade gave you that kind of helped with the shift? Are there any was there any advice that you remember Marty giving you, either by words or by way of action? There's just something maybe that he indirectly kind of advised you on, you know what I mean? Something, a situation you saw him handle and was like, you know what? Like, that makes so much sense. Everything is different now.
Yeah. For Marty, I think what Marty does really good is like, I've been working on the low. Yep. I've been working on the low. Yep. Like, Marty's never that guy to be like, I'm out here today. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. Like, everybody knows what Marty's doing from like TV or like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's something I always respected about him, and I thought, and for a second, because you can get a little bit caught up in like the like, I'm like booked and blessed, but not, but like people are saying it now to like, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but people are like humble bragging now in a way to like inspire.
Right.
But is it really inspiring?
Right.
Is the question.
Right. Right.
And because I do understand the fact of like, I'm doing this, and I came from this. You can do that too.
Right.
I get that, and that's totally a mindset for sure.
Right.
And that's something that you should be able to portray.
Right.
But it's just like sometimes it's very
everything in moderation. Everything in moderation, right? Like I mean, of course, like words. I love to that's spot, no, that's spot on. Like that's what it is. It's just I love to see. Listen, I love to see my friends doing well. I love it. That's great. Hashtag blessed all day.
For sure.
But do I want to be hit over the head with that all the time, every time I scroll to see what you're doing?
Right.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. I think people, it's just, you got to be careful about trying to blanket, trying to just like brag, but then blanket it with like, I'm doing this to inspire you.
Right. Yeah.
Like you still look a little bit like an asshole. Like
absolutely. Yeah. I feel you.
To me, that's what I learned from Marty. Like I've never looked at Marty in that light, and like I've been around conversations of like at events like some industry dance awards or some kind of events like that where people come up to Marty and they have like that LA conversation of like, what are you doing now, and like what are you working on, and what's in the future, and I am able to be there and listen to how he, because I've always hated those conversations.
Absolutely, they're the worst.
They're the worst.
The absolute worst. Like I don't ask people what they're working on anymore.
I don't. Right.
Again, sorry y'all, that we're gonna include you in this. So this is a LA thing. I might even say it's a New York thing. I'm not sure because I'm not. But it's an industry thing of every conversation that you have ends up being about the work that you're doing as opposed to having a conversation. Like we see the LA associates that are more interested in actually what is going on surface level that they might be able to get in on relationship opportunities.
Right. That's why that conversation goes there a lot, because then if you're like, well, I have this new Disney show or whatever.
Right.
If you need a Disney dancer, bro, like I did a couple Nickelodeon jobs. Like, okay, got it. And it's hard because as a new dancer in LA, I feel like the agencies are telling you to do that.
Of course.
You got to go to these events. You got to talk to choreographers.
Of course.
But it's just like what I learned from Marty is how to have that conversation in a very like human, real way without like just trying to list off like your resume of the last 6 months and try to like say how cool you're gonna be next year. You know, like
absolutely.
So that for him, it's like not anything specific, like a word quote for quote, but it's like his character and his demeanor, how he like professionally, how he carries himself, and how he like addresses people. I've learned that so much from him. Yeah.
And then that leads me to my next question. That with all of that now, and you have some seasoning and experience behind you now in LA, and as quickly as it happened, Dave, we are not the new generation anymore, right? So in essence, I'm sure that those conversations have now happened for you more often than not, right? Do you know what I mean? So, is there a way that is there a piece of information that you could give the up and coming dancers to help them not play themselves? Put bluntly,
right?
Is that how do people that you generally like working with? Was there a common thread in which the way that they spoke to you, the way that they that you were like, you know what, I appreciate that, like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like because it does happen so much, to me it just seems it's more of an epidemic, just because people either are not aware, they just don't know, or they're not aware. You know what I mean? So is there something that you could speak to about that?
I think it goes back to just like being you, like before you moved to LA, Was I in Orlando, Florida at a nightclub trying to ask people what they're working on now?
Right.
You know, like, like, you know what I mean? Not to fall back on that again, but what you're working on now.
That's great.
But like, it's not like you moved to LA and now all of a sudden you have to have brand new conversations that are always about the LA dance industry.
Yes.
I think for me, like, I take notice more for people like and their process of like how they're creating stuff, whether it's a dancer or a choreographer. Taking my class, that's the quickest way personally for me to see you. If you like, if it's somebody that wants to work with me, taking my class, that's a right there, like an immediate thing. But for me, it's more like, just being real. Like, I don't have necessarily advice, personality advice, as far as like the conversations go.
Of course.
I will say, like, if I had advice for like, if you're just moving out to LA, or in life in general, because this still applies to overall all of life. But if you try to focus on like wins and losses, it's like you're gonna be going down the wrong path, because you start to really focus. If I'm focused more on winning, like, oh, this is the wins, I got to do this, and I got to do this process to this win, and then the win doesn't happen, then it's a failure. But if you focus more on like the process, and not necessarily if it's a win or not, then you can realize that the process was growth, and I'm focusing more about the loss necessarily, like, and I can evaluate the loss, and I can analyze the loss, and I can learn from the loss, and it's not like, okay, I've tried these projects, wins and loss column, like, like when people do like goal lists and stuff like that, I feel like if I have a goal for 2016 and I have 6 things on it and I did like 3 of them, I didn't lose on the other 3 necessarily, but some people really are focusing too much on the loss.
I see.
And then like your subconscious takes this whole thing of like, well, next time I want to do something, I have to think about like, what if it doesn't work? Like, what if it doesn't, if this process doesn't work, then that's not going to happen, or I'm not going to make money off of this, or these people won't like this video. But if I just think about like, if I focus more on like, how am I going to get there, and like what the steps I'm going to take, and whether I actually get there or not, then maybe I went this far here and I went this far here, but I can combine these things. So I just think in life, like, you can't really make it about the columns of wins and losses.
Absolutely.
You know?
And just trust the process.
Yeah.
And everything. I see.
When I first moved to LA, I had like a whole list of things that I wanted to do. I don't know why I put 27 on the age, but I had a whole list of things that I wanted to do before the age of 27. And then when I got to 27, I still had this list, and I kind of like had been reevaluating and stuff, and and I realized like it was a long list, and I realized a lot of the things I didn't do, and one of them was putting on my own show in LA, like having like at the El Portal Theater, having like my own like a monster show kind of thing. And I just felt like I never really was in the right mindset or the right area to do that. And I really, when I turned 27 to 28, I was kind of like focused on that as such a loss. And it took a moment for me to be like, you couldn't do that. Like, you couldn't put on a show. Like, it's not that it's so easy, but like, it wasn't like something I needed anybody else for. It's something that just in my own mind, I didn't do. But now looking back on it, I'm 33 now. And I do want to put on my own show. And from the ages of 27 to 33, the amount that I've learned. I just did Cirque du Soleil. I just choreographed Cirque du Soleil. Like, think about. Thanks, bro. Yeah. So the amount that I've learned as far as like putting on a show, transitions in between pieces. Had I not known that before, like, I'm just looking back on now, like, maybe it wasn't a loss necessarily. Maybe like God is just telling me, when you put on your first show, we want it to be a home run. We don't want it to be a building process. Like, I don't want to have put on a show when I was 27, then when I was 30. Now the coolest show is when I'm 33. You know. I think in my mind, maybe it was like I needed another few years, because at 27 I felt like I knew everything, and I felt like I was ready, but I just wasn't motivated, and I let myself down to not do it. You know. And now I'm looking back on it like, it would have been nothing compared to what I feel like it can be now with what I've learned just in the last 5 years. So
okay, and that all reflects in trust in the process, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and just not getting bogged down.
Now let me shift gears for a second and talk about your teaching experience.
Yeah.
And just kind of your insight from a classroom perspective.
Right.
Okay. So you've been teaching. Thank you, sir. You've been teaching now for a millennium, I think, for well over. Has it been 10 years?
11 years.
11 years now.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the major differences that you see in the classroom environment? Listen. This is a popular discussion. I think. Today.
It's a popular Facebook thread.
It's a way popular Facebook thread. But the great thing, one of the unfortunate things about Facebook is that you don't get inflection reading text.
Right. Yeah.
So I would love to open
it could be
that.
Lost.
Yeah. They're
voice notes
misconstrued.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I kind of like to open that up if you're cool with that.
Of course. Yeah.
So we can kind of talk about that and get your insight about what has changed in the classroom for better and worse.
Yeah.
And for the things that might have changed for the worse, what steps or just recommendations that you might have, for just to kind of help just to pass that on to the newer generation.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's hard because obviously we now is like the digital social age.
Of course.
Which is like so good in so many ways and bad, and I think a lot fewer ways it's bad, but it's incredible in way more ways.
Put yourself on crazy.
Yeah, easily. I think the difference of class when I first started teaching and class now is definitely like the intimate atmosphere of like not a lot of cameras and like people thinking that like when we had class, it was like we would still videotape class for sure. Like when I first started teaching, and everybody would go back to like one person's apartment and watch it and like talk about each other and study it. But it was definitely more about like what was happening in the classroom, like the classroom process, which at the time was great. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As YouTube started to become more of a thing, like definitely videos, filming was more and more. Some videos went viral on YouTube, and so then it was like we started to have like Dance On or different companies that were like going to encourage people, you should film your class and it should be to a top 40 song and you should put it out.
Got it. Okay.
Because like YouTube, one of the YouTube grinds was like I could put out a really cool concept video to like a random song and I might reach a certain audience who really appreciate the creativity of it.
Right.
But then I could also put out, like, say Chris Brown released, or Forever. Let's say Chris Brown released Forever. And then immediately I teach to it at wherever I'm teaching. And 3 days later, he releases the music video, and I release my YouTube video. Right. And you can piggyback the success of his song for your dance video. Right. Which became not a process, but like a way to do it.
Of course.
And so now every time people, I want to see Chris Brown's new video, they watch Chris Brown's new video. Right after it, related videos, David Moore's Chris Brown dance class video. Right. Yeah. So now the Chris Brown video has 10 million views. My class video has 4 million views. Just off of people accidentally. Exactly. I want to watch a dance to it. Right. So I think that's when YouTube was like, yo, like this is a thing. Like, and Dance On was like, you should start having people film. No, it wasn't Dance On at that time for YouTube. They're more Instagram. But there was companies saying, you should do this. And I was definitely doing that a lot, YouTube classes. I was using YouTube a lot more for conceptual videos rather than classes. Then Instagram came along, and it was way more like now you can really almost on a daily basis be in touch with, because YouTube you couldn't really be in touch with your fans on a daily basis. You could post every day, but to make a YouTube video every day is a little bit strenuous. So Instagram came along, and then it was like there was 4 or 5 people who like became Instagram choreographers, which is really great. But then it made everybody that wasn't an Instagram choreographer, who was just a dance teacher at Millennium, feel like you either had to pick a side. Like,
yeah.
You're either a homegrown choreographer who like isn't gonna have all the cameramen in their class and is gonna be true to the style and gonna be true to the class atmosphere and not have thousands of groups at the end and not have like whatever you know what I mean. And then, or you were gonna be on Instagram, you were gonna have the person in every class, and you were gonna do multiple groups, and you were gonna have 6 people do solos, and you're gonna have all of your students sitting down for the last 20 minutes of class, which is a big debate, because when they go to do, some people when they go to do groups, they have all the students sit in a circle.
Got it. Okay.
And now people who have paid for for an hour and a half of class, this is becoming an issue at Millennium.
Got it. Okay.
Now people who have paid for like an hour and a half of class get an hour and 10 minutes, and then they sit down and watch 20 minutes of 10 to 15 people
not them
dance.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So I could see where like a paying customer who isn't a part of our industry would have an issue with that.
Right.
So there's these two sides now. I like to think of myself as like on the fence of those sides of that. Yeah. Right. Like I love the creation. I love digital. I love Instagram. I love YouTube. I love that whole process of putting out videos and commenting back to people who comment on it and getting to know people who like my stuff. I enjoy that. I think it's very like feeding to the creation process. Like I am inspired to do more because of how these people react to it. But I also try to keep my classroom atmosphere still a very fun class atmosphere for an hour and a half. Right. So I just try to be very like at the end of class, I'll be very like choosy on as far as like the groups. I never really have people sit down. We're getting into like logistics of issues that people have, but I
guess I feel, and I think what I was asking too is if not even just to point out the issues that people have, but if there is a solution, in sight that maybe someone has not thought about, that maybe over your years of experience, that you might be like, well, maybe we can try this, or like, or if it's not a solution, another mindset that maybe people can have rather than being like, you know what, I don't like that, like something maybe that they haven't thought about.
Well, I think Millennium is doing a good job as far as like trying to find a solution. Like you were saying, some of the issues that were brought up were like people sitting, and then the groups are going 20 minutes, and like whoever the videographer is like yelling at some dancers to move this certain way and move that certain way. Videographers are like getting mad at the people who work at Millennium when they say that, hey, you have 5 minutes left, and they're going 15 more minutes because they want to get their Instagram clip. So Millennium is doing good at kind of saying like, this person can film this week, but then don't film next week, and then you can film this week.
Okay, got it.
So that if you go to Millennium and you're taking 4 classes in a row, you're not bombarded 4 times. So like now they're kind of able to evaluate that a little bit more and have less people film on certain days. And then only a certain amount of videographers are allowed to film at Millennium now. So I think that's a really good solution, because you don't have just any random unknown person coming in that don't know anything about the dance industry, and they're just a videographer. And they don't understand like the process, and they get a certain way.
Classroom or anything.
So I think it's really good as far as, I don't teach a lot at other studios, but I know as far as Millennium, they're being proactive about the complaints that people have. And then as far as like my class atmosphere, it's just like, I want people to feel involved in the entire time, but I also want to get my Instagram clips too, because that is what is drawing people to class as well. I think it's just about being a smart teacher and kind of like knowing where your class is at. Like if they're all sitting down in like this, and sometimes some of these people are having the same person go in a trio, in a group of 5, and then a solo. That same dancer just went 3 times in your class.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
Like you have to know to a certain extent that maybe that the people don't necessarily want to see them dance 3 times.
I see.
No matter how amazing they are.
And then being in tune just as with a teacher and with your classroom. So the question, what makes a good dance teacher?
What makes a good dance teacher? I think what makes a good dance teacher, I think you got to really... I've always thought you got to like evoke some sort of emotion from the class. Nowadays, like people are always steps are just steps unless you like put something to it, and there's meaning to that too. But I also feel like whether a lot of my classes, the emotion, I would say 80% of the emotion that I want to evoke is fun. And I feel like people think that it has to be like, if I'm going to have an epic dance class, it has to be to like Adele, Hello. And I have to like be wiping away tears at the beginning of the video. You pull it away and I'm wiping away tears. And then I'm like, and then I have like this choreographed freestyle with a partner at the end that's like supposed to be a freestyle. But you know, like people feel like if I'm going to evoke motion, it has to be emotional. Right. Whereas I think for a lot of dancers, like the 20% of them are going to really get in tune with that emotion. And I think that is a good class to have sometimes for sure. But I think for me, 80% of the people on a regular day want to come into class and leave smiling, sweating, talking about it. Every time they hear that song, they want to do the dance. They're just, it's just fun, man. Like when you're talking about, like, I want people to talk about my class and just be smiling, you know? Absolutely. So I feel like that for me, when I make up choreography, I'm having fun, bro. Like, and I feel like that gets lost as an emotion that people can have in class.
And I think it's and I gotta say, man, I think it's really impressive too, because that's something that has been a consistent. And I see the classes that you teach, and I still feel what that was that you put, you know what I mean? So it's really, really impressive, especially nowadays when you have, I mean, listen. You know, it's probably over combined views, like over 11 million views on your YouTube page. You know what I mean? Like things like that. I think that it could be very easy to get caught up in in what works and what doesn't. So true. So then you have to potentially dip into your integrity. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you your artistic integrity? Do you feel
like
what I'm saying?
Sacrifice a little bit of that creative integrity for the sake of following,
viewership.
The viewers.
Yes, absolutely.
That happens so much for sure, and I think that's a line that I try to make sure that I'm very balanced with as well.
Now, do you attribute that all to yourself, or do you have a team of people around you during your creative process to let you know, hey, kind of, you know, and I asked that because I talked to Ian Eastwood earlier, and he said that he, you know, during some of his process, like when he has some of the young lions around, they are people that he has so much artistic trust in that he can kind of turn around and be like, you know, if somebody's kind of like, no, not that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and that could be a very sensitive area.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
It can. So, do you attribute that all to yourself? Do you just kind of know when you faking the funk, or has somebody had to kind of be like, hey? Like,
I feel like that's Marty sometimes too, because I'm like, I feel like I'm in a lot of creatively. I'm in a lot of different circles. Like Josh Kalaki is, of course, man, like super talented guy that I'm making videos with a lot. He's 21 years old, and then Marty is older than me. So it's kind of like I can get all these different things, and sometimes I do try to go too far to like that trendy lane, you know, for sake of views. Yeah. And then like Marty, and not like a sit down, bro. Like I saw this, and it, like he'll just when we're golfing, make a joke about it. Yeah. You know? Okay, got it. And in Marty's way, I'm kind of like...
And you'll pick up on it.
and in Marty, and in the back of my mind, I'll be like, yeah, I was already thinking that. But the fact that you just said it and confirmed it, cool. I'm going to go ahead and give you a check mark. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's Marty for me, is to kind of like, he's a little bit more of that like voice of reason to like not stretch too far out of what I would do. The thing about what you were saying about leaning towards what people want as opposed to like the stuff I enjoy creating. I'll touch on this really quick, but like I've started to shoot a lot more videos now on an iPhone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's like it's always this thing now where I don't know if it's like the frame of it for like these 60-second Instagram videos, but when I was doing YouTube videos, it was like the best DSLR, like pro camera, depth of field, it looks like a movie, background's out of focus, we have all these different scenes, and that's what people wanted, right? What I thought. And then when I started doing Instagram videos, I put out like a 60-second video on an iPhone of like Josh and some people dancing, and I'm like shaking it all different ways, like with the, like when people started doing Hit Them Folks, and the cameraman was like just as turned up as the dancer. As a filmmaker, that is like cringe. Yeah. As a filmmaker, you never want to see this. The people have millions of dollars in steady cams so that you don't see this. Right. Yeah. And so I'm coming from this whole, like, I studied filmmaking. I studied all these like cool, amazing people that are like making these crazy videos with like cool shots that start from this way and go this way. And so inspired by that. And then on Instagram comes along, I get a little bit more of an Instagram following from a few of these videos, like in a living room with, they have pajamas on. Like that was one of my first viral Instagram videos, was the Christmas is Lit challenge. And that was only 2015. And it was like, they were in Christmas pajamas. We get turned we get turned So easy, so basic, and so widely accepted by everybody. And that was when we were kind of like, we can venture out of the dance industry more with these type of videos. And so it's like a thing now when I'll have to decide, like, we get to the set and we're going to shoot a video. We shoot it on the iPhone. We shoot a scene on the iPhone. We shoot a scene on the DSLR. And then I have like this in-between Sony camera. We shoot a scene on it. And then without knowing what camera's what, we'll watch all three, same scene. And then we'll vote on it. We almost do this on like every thing now, right? And when I say we, it's me and the guys that are in the video. Almost every time now, it's the iPhone, which is kind of like good and bad, because like the iPhone is getting a really nice, especially that I just shot the first one on the new iPhone. New joint? So big plug for the iPhone. But it's even better than the 7, which I don't even know. Anyways, so it's like, I don't want to be doing this necessarily, but I understand like how much hype comes from it. So like I'm learning to enjoy that as like a new form of filmmaking. Like all the filmmakers that are doing this, I don't think they understand that could be a new form of filmmaking. I don't know what it's called, but it's like jerky,
I think
in and out.
That also kind of speaks a lot to your character and the way that the scope that you kind of see the playing field on. Because to me, that it seems that you allow a lot of room for the landscape to change.
You have to.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
You do have to, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of trouble with that. There's a lot of people that have trouble with that, especially I feel like if they put time, dedication, and devotion into this one situation, if all of a sudden the game changes, then they become traditionalist, and it's true. Do you know what I mean? And I hope I'm using that word right, but no, but they then have to make an emotional point to be like, nope, I'm only rocking with this. Like even though I know, like I know it's kind of going this way,
and
but
that's
like,
not probably not gonna fade out. Like,
do you know what I'm saying? Like like this is only gaining power, but like I've just been doing this. You know what I mean? So I think that, because also, I want to dip into this too, is that the success of the airboard videos, right? You know, I mean, you have this new thing that's huge. You got the airboards, you got hoverboards, and all that, and it's only a matter of time before somebody starts making dances to them, and actually something that's tangible, that you enjoy, and that are done that actually shows off both things as a main character. Because this is where I've seen some people fall into a trap of what you were trying to do, is they would try to make the dance videos on the situation on like the airboard, and neither one were a main character because they were trying to do too much on both. Do you know what I'm talking about? And with your expertise of camera choreography, like, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you're on an airboard while you're filming.
I'm the sixth dancer. There's 5, so it's funny too, because I didn't even think to shoot a dance video on it. I saw the airboard and was like, Steadicam. Like, I don't ever have to have a Steadicam again. Like, as soon as I got an airboard, the next 3 or 4 videos I shot, dance videos, on foot videos, were on the board. And I started to think like, 360 videos. Like, we don't have to have a front. Like, I can easily do a fastest circle around them, and they could like follow me. And and then when we saw it in playback, I'm like, this doesn't look like anything anybody's doing. Because people have the Ronin, but nobody's running 15 miles per hour. You know what I mean? or for that amount of time. Even if they could get up to that speed, it's just for this amount of time. But if we do a 2-minute no cut video and I'm moving 15 miles per hour in and out of the formations, it just turns it like the What Do You Mean video. But
incredible.
It's funny. I don't know if you remember this conversation that we had. I don't know if it was like over social media or in person, but I was like, I think I tweeted something like, will there ever be a completely unique idea like in our industry? Will there ever be like a brand new thought? Right. Or is everything something that is inspired by something else? Right. And which is kind of the case in life as it evolves. So when I thought about the airboard dance, and this is before there was like I searched airboard dance on YouTube and there was zero. Like nobody was dancing on them yet. And I know, because in my mind I was like, Bieber or Chris Brown, somebody's gonna have a music video with these guys dancing. So I waited like 4 or 5 months like after they came out. No videos right away, but it was all over like Bieber's Instagram and Chris's Instagram and stuff. No videos came out. Then I was kind of like, is this a completely original thought? Right. Like to a certain extent. Yeah. Because all the years that I've been like studying filmmaking, studying movement, wanting to shoot dance, and now I've shot 2 or 3 videos on foot, 360, and then I just thought like this little light bulb, and it was actually when I heard What Do You Mean for the first time. I had not even thought about having guys dance on it yet. I thought about there being a music video and it being probably done right, but I thought like we couldn't really execute it how it should be done. I heard What Do You Mean, and it has like this boom, 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 like it has like this like surfy like going down the street vibe to it. And in my mind, I was like, this will be the music video that is Bieber's video. It has to be the song. Like if his management doesn't know that the choreography on Airboard should be the What Do You Mean video to his new single, they're idiots. This has to be it. So in my mind, I was like, this might be my way to choreograph for Bieber. So the video actually was a like a spec video for Bieber's management, and Josh Kalaki played Bieber, which is why in the video he kind of like mouths it a lot. Got it. Okay. He's singing a little bit, which I, like when it went viral, people were like, "Why is he singing?" Like it was a thing, kind of, but whatever. Yeah, but he was singing moments, not like trying to be all crazy with it, but he like had little cool moments that he did the words. But we shot it originally for me to give it to Nick Demora to give it to Scooter so that Justin could see it. Then after we shot it, we knew like the takes, I was like, something is happening. Because you never know until you shoot it. Like I could imagine a million different awesome ideas, but until you get to the set and you try to execute it, you never know what it's going to be. You know, that's always the hardest part, going from imagination to film, you know? So it was like everything and more than I imagined. Like when we were watching this stuff, because when I'm choreographing and when we're in rehearsal, I never had the space. We had like 10,000 square feet. I never had the space to work with. So we would do 20 seconds and then we would reset and do like 30 seconds and then reset and do like in the space we had to rehearse. So then like the first time that we did it as a no cut, 1 take, 2 minutes in the 10,000 square feet and like all this weaving and stuff, we watched playback and everybody was like, this is special. Like there's something really cool here. And I was like, I'm basically going to edit this and put it on YouTube. I'm not sending it to, because people don't know like the process of like trying to get hired by an artist, but I might send the video to Bieber or send it to his management. They might kind of like it and then create a video without me. They might kind of like it and say, well, we want to use it for the next single, but don't put it out so that people don't know. And then it gets put on a hard drive somewhere. They might not like it at all and just not get back to me. But a lot of that is a waiting process. And the single was popping at that time. So to me, I was like, this is too special to try to like wait for management. Like I couldn't. It was like we were sitting on like a little bit of gold. So funny thing is that right after we finished the shoot at 2 a.m. And everybody was so juiced on it, I was like, I'm going straight home to edit this. I don't know what y'all doing. They were like following you. We all went straight to my apartment, all 6 of us, right into the living room. They started playing video games. I'm editing. Then I would show them some. Everybody would get juiced on it. They would play video games. I'll edit more. I'd show them some. It was like 7 a.m. that night. All of them were still there. 7 a.m. Everybody's still up off of the excitement of seeing the final product. Like we've now put almost 12 hours straight into this, you know? But it was because of how special everybody thought it was, you know? And so I remember thinking it was like like the sun was coming up, and this is like a movie scene, but it's so much real life. Like the sun is coming up, and I'm just now finishing like the full edit. Like I did color correction, I did all the cuts, everything was there. I put it up on the TV. We're watching it together. It ends. Let's watch it again. It ends. Let's watch it again. It ends. We watched it like 20 times, and every single time we're just like, like emotionally like juiced on it. So still didn't like, we knew how we felt about it, but you know how you feel about things that you create yourself.
Of course.
But then when we put it on YouTube, it was like, the first day it was like 20,000 views, had a little traction, and then Bieber tweeted it on the second day, and it was like,
and it was all over the place. It was,
and then it was like Good Morning America,
and like Good Morning America.
It went
we had some producers over at the Ellen Show that were like, yo, and I'm like, yo,
he sent this to me.
It's the greatest thing in the world. Because I'm like, yo, I know that dude.
Yo, you're showing me one of my good friends.
I already know. Like, I've seen it. You know what I mean? I've seen it. Like, I already know what's happening. And just, I'm going to take a moment to just kind of talk my shit for a second. Because the people are just, they sometimes they don't have anything to do than nitpick what you're doing. All right, that is often the highlight of their day. We can call them trolls, we can call them haters, whatever you want. To be like that creative endeavor is not dance and blah blah blah. You playing yourself and you playing the culture, and you're like and you're making hate that is so unnecessary, because at the end of the day, you have something you have a device that was a cultural phenomenon, taken and made into an artistic an artistic endeavor that everybody could enjoy. And if you weren't a hater, if you weren't caught in your feelings, you were probably at home trying to try some of the moves. So it's just like, I have to give big ups to you too for sticking to your guns and seeing that thing through, because the success that rolled off of that, I mean, I'd imagine just provided a whole new platform for you. You know,
it in a certain way, like, I like to say it started a new form of entertainment. Whether it's like globally known, but like we did like Kids Choice Awards. We did like some Nickelodeon thing. We did like 3 or 4 car shows in China. It all of a sudden became like a cool, they're like car shows, and they had like dancers, and sometimes they had like rollerbladers as like performances, aerialists and stuff. And then when we kind of like stepped into that scene, they were like, all the car show director people were like, they're like people on little cars. It started to make sense. So like, I remember I did a job for GTI that was, I was on a walkie-talkie and had worked with a stunt driver coordinator guy and choreographed 8 GTI cars. So I choreographed how they were going to circle and move, along with 12 board dancers and 20 on-foot dancers. So it was like a big auditorium, and I would say it's still today the biggest like chunk of like mind power that I've ever had to use. Because I'm thinking like, how do the cars move, and then like how fast do they have to go for it to be like, because the stunt driver's like, the faster you can have the cars move, the more exciting. Like the drivers are good, you know. And I'm thinking like, my boarders are good, but the boards have like, sometimes they have a mind of their own, and sometimes like, at that time we didn't have like, we have a sponsorship now for boards that's like a really great quality. And at that time they might stop, and then it's rolling, and it rolls under the car. Like all the lists of things that could go wrong were very big. But I just remember that being like, I would not be here if I had not done a board dance video. Like they contacted me for airboard choreography. And then as they realized, my agency was like, he does on foot choreography. He's worked on movies and television. Like, he does direction for a camera. They're like, oh, well, let's have him choreograph this cars too. And we're hiring on foot dancers here in China. He can choreograph them too. So it's like all inclusive. So it's kind of like the board stuff has gotten me in, just like Cirque du Soleil. Gets my foot in the door and gets the conversation going. And then what my agent has been so good at is pitching the rest of me to them, you know?
Absolutely.
Like saying that, yeah, he did do the airboard video, but he's been doing this for 10 years. And so like, you should add some dancers, and let's season it some. And every creative director or producer is like, yeah, let's do it. Cause it's a brand new thing. Like we did a show at MGM in Las Vegas that was 17,000 people sold out. It wasn't for Bot Bros. It was like an industrial type thing. but the MGM Stadium is so like magical, and like just the way that it goes up. They had a runway stage like this, and then a circle stage right here. It was when What Do You Mean, when the video was popping. So it's kind of like our performance of like the viral video. And they showed like little clips of Good Morning America, and like they're being interviewed on Good Morning America. And they showed like a couple of the things. All of a sudden, doom, 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 they come sliding from the sides. Crowd is going nuts. Like it was at that point that I was like, when as dancers, we're always like, we want to be the artist. And like, how can we not be background to a certain extent? And I was like, the boards kind of help us be the artist in a certain way. Like we were the first. There's an artist Times Square stage, and it's where they have like Pharrell, Katy Perry. Whenever there's a singing live performer, they'll have them perform on this Times Square stage. They told us that we were the first person to perform on the Times Square stage without a musical act. So
you know what I mean, like,
and
you know, and it just is to hear all of that. And, you know, just to think about how we started this conversation as a kid that's literally learning from a VHS tape in the mirror. Thinking, who put all of this together? You go full circle around. You're directing cars. You are that person right now. You know what I mean? You're talking about something that you put on in an arena. You know what I mean? It's just like,
it was nuts, man.
That's amazing.
The Good Morning America thing was like, I feel like such a crazy moment in life, because we did it. They performed, and then Robin, the host of Good Morning America, I like walk on at the end, and she interviews me about like, how did you come up with the idea for the boards and stuff? And the back of my mind the whole time, I'm thinking like the advice I was given. If you think about what if I lose, like if I'm thinking I want to do a board video, but what if nobody likes it, or what if like the dance industry thinks it's not dancing, or what if like people look at me like I'm trying to like do a gag to get views. And if I would have thought of all those what ifs just for this 1 2-minute video, I wouldn't be standing here in Times Square being interviewed by Rotten. Like at the time of putting the video together, did I think Cirque du Soleil? Did I think Good Morning America? Did I think this car show? Hell no. I can tell you that. I thought I was hoping for a Justin Bieber video. I was hoping to choreograph a Justin Bieber video. And underneath that, I was hoping people will think it's cool.
Absolutely.
Really, that was the extent of it. And it wasn't until like till we had the final product that I was like, this could be a thing. People could really embrace this.
It's amazing. We're in a good place, man. This is the last 2 questions. And with everything that has come about, and I would say right now that you have had your hand in many popular things, right? Popular things that have helped build a platform for you to jump off into whatever else you want to do, whatever. How important is it to know the difference between popularity and potential of longevity? You know what I'm talking about? That's a really
good question.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, you don't have to jump into that answer. Right? You can take a moment. We can edit that down. But like, I know it's a layered question, but like, I think that question is important now because it's easy to get something popular right now. Like you can definitely create something popular, but like, how important is it to look for opportunities to find longevity in your popularity?
Right. Well, I think it's about, for me, it's really been, especially on the social media side, because I feel like that's where the popularity is. A lot of like casting people are looking at like your social before they figure out if they're going to cast you or not. Which is crazy, but okay, I get it to a certain extent. I think it's such a industry of show and prove. Like there are so many different accounts and so many different dancers and choreographers. You always have to show and prove. You like 3 months now, I have to put out another video to show and prove that I can do this. I can do this certain job, and show them the next boom, 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 boom. That in between all these show and prove moments, I like to think of them, and I think of those as like my more creative videos that I like put money into and have like lighting and a budget, and I try to like flex a little more as far as like what the final product is going to be. Those are like my show and prove moments, and those are videos that I can give my agency, and my agency can pitch to Disney for some whatever, you know, Step Up or something like that.
Right.
In between all those is kind of like for me, it's like my general population like moments.
Right.
And not in any kind of negative way, but like for me, it's the Christmas is Lit challenge or like the Say What challenge. I've been doing, me and Josh Kalaki kind of like dived into a little bit of the dance challenge world.
Right.
And I think that in my mind, I feel like we're some of the first industry pro dancers who are doing challenges who are available to the beginner dancer, but also still have like the style of an advanced dancer. So you can learn it whatever you're at. Like I could learn it as a really good dancer and put a lot of sauce on it.
Right.
Or I could be like just at a beginner level and still know the moves.
Right.
And so we kind of dived into that and did a lot of challenges. And I feel like those challenges is where we grabbed a lot of audience that don't know about Millennium, and they don't know about Justin Timberlake's background dancers, and they don't, nor do they care, you know? They just want like a fun, they want to like, and a lot of it was, we got a relationship with Swade, the remix guy.
Yeah.
And he does, we have a really good relationship with him now, and he does a lot of beats to like pop culture stuff.
Right.
So Catch Me Outside was huge. 137 million views on Facebook. Our Catch Me Outside dance video, right?
Wow.
And it was on Dr. Phil. They played it on Dr. Phil. When they were talking about it, not to highlight us, but to say there's a dance video also to it, and they got Josh and them going, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are all of our like in between moments, which are really still. I don't want to demean them and say they're in between, but they're still really great, very successful videos. But creatively, that's what I'm saying. It's the iPhone. It's I'm still on a board, so I can like shoot. I feel like I've always been able to shoot dance a certain way. That's my style.
Right.
So I can still shoot it my way. But am I ever using those videos to get a job? Not really.
Right.
I can't think of one that's gotten me a job.
Right.
It's always the concept videos or like the more well put together videos that are references for commercials or to do like this Adidas spot or something like that. So I think it's just in life, it's about having the balance, finding the balance. Don't dive all the way into the gimmicks and all the way into me and Josh, because Dance On was maybe at one point going to have me and Josh be like dance challenge guys. Yeah. And it was played around with a little bit, but are we diving too deep into that? I think maybe.
Right. I see what
Do we want to like be those people?
Right.
Not necessarily.
Right.
I don't really see myself as that.
Of course.
But do I think I can put together a really fun dance challenge? And do I love seeing all these kids learn it and do it and try to win? We would do like $500 for first place or like a hoverboard for second place. And like a lot of the challenges we do incentives for. So watching those videos and seeing, especially like location tags, you got like the craziest Thailand, like India, Kazakhstan, like Beijing. I'm looking at all these dance challenges and seeing like, that's how it's going this global. But these the other end of it are my concept videos that I put all this money and time into. Are those being redid by these people? No. Right. But can I use those for jobs? Yes.
Right.
So it's really about having both, I think.
Got it.
And the concept video is what I would say, like as a traditionalist, that's what I studied and what I was like brought up in and what I like love and still love to this day. But then it was like you were saying, when you got to evolve as stuff happens, you got to evolve with time, and you got to evolve with social media, and seeing that like dance challenges were a thing. But it was a dance challenge before we kind of put choreography to it necessarily, was a song. Right. So it'd be like Chris Brown questions. Right. What's the dance challenge? Now you just dance to it. Right. That's the challenge. Okay. Dance. Yeah. Right. Freestyle. You could do choreography. It's whatever. But everybody sees each other's challenges to Chris Brown. What we did was say, it's a trio. There's three. We kind of like trademarked. It's always three. Yeah. There's formation changes. You get with your three friends, do the same formation changes. One person is Josh, one person is Jake, one person is Alex. Right. They know the names of them, like they become fans of the people as well. Right. And the people who do we do one challenge, we get this audience. We do the second challenge, we have this audience and the new audience. We do the third challenge, we have this audience and the new audience that all like Catch Me Outside, or that all like Say What, or you know, all these different Don't Stop or Don't Stop, even like that kind of stuff. Like that is, anybody can do the Don't Stop challenge, you know? So to me it was like, that was kind of my way of still doing something new in my way with what social media is now, or like what the world is now. So I didn't want to just say like dance challenge, let's follow that and do a bunch of cool freestyles. I said we want to make it a little more formatted, do trios and have like cool choreo that you can learn to all these dances. And it's always swayed to the remix god. Like any challenge we do, if we have an idea, we hit him, he does the beat, he sends it back to us, and we throw it out. Dope. Yeah. That's so dope. So yeah, that would be like my main thing is just balancing the two.
I see. Yeah. And with that last question, because there's a lot of information and a lot of examples going on. Okay. Right now, there is another David Moore-esque type brewing somewhere.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like you might be the exoskeleton of like, yo, I kind of want to do something like that. Can you speak to originality? Because when you were watching, you know, music videos and stuff like that, you only had so much reference that you could pull from. Right. Do you know what I'm talking about? Now there are endless amounts of references, video references, which means your possibility of being completely original, meaning being inspired by what you're seeing, and just taking little pieces of that, the pieces that you can just remember, and then putting that into whatever you do, as opposed to trying to literally be the video that you're watching. Right. What do you, from the standpoint that you have right now, can you speak to originality and A, how important it is, and B, how you still to this day have remained original? Right. You know,
for sure. Well, I will say, just the first question, how important it is incredibly important. Right. Like how I was saying earlier, in our conversation about if I can look at somebody's routine and kind of like pinpoint 4 choreographers that are in this routine, I'm already like kind of on to the next in my brain. Right. And I think a lot of people feel that way, the same way as me, as far as like watching stuff. So I think finding your own style and your own movement, if you're doing choreography, or your own way of shooting, if you're doing film, is so important, because if it looks different, it's going to be interesting to everybody. Right. You know what I mean? Especially to a creative. Right. Like now I've been directing and choreographing. If I watch a video and it looks different, I'm going to want to watch the whole video. Right. I want to watch all this full 60 seconds. You know what I mean? Right. If I watch a video and in the first 15 seconds, if it's dance and I see a couple of different styles that I already recognize, or if it's like film and I see like they're just doing a formula of something that's already happened, I'm kind of like, okay, next. Yeah. Right. I really stop and analyze and watch and enjoy stuff when it's different. I think that's important. Yeah. So if you have like your own style and your own creative way, it's a good way to get people to stop and watch. Absolutely. You know? Yeah, man. Because they haven't seen it before. Right. As far as my like creative process, I read a book. What was it called? The Creative, or Twyla Tharp, or
the creative process.
Yeah, I think I just said the title. Yeah. I read a book like that a while ago, and one of the things that stuck with me most was making sure you have like a creative habit. So like whenever you're we'll just say like for choreography, for as like an example, always have like the process that you're gonna go through for that choreography. Like whether it's you put the music on and you take a walk around the block and take in what's happening with the trash man, and take in this is like part of the book. Take in what's happening with like the puddle over here that they jump into or they try to miss, and then go back to this room that you're always in the same room, and you have like the same kind of lighting and the same energy that this candle's going. And if you have that process, it becomes more of a habit. Got it. Okay. And you're more likely to create something just as special as you did last time. Right. If you have that same process. Right.
I think it's called the creative habit.
Creative habit. It is. Yeah. It is called the creative habit. It is for sure. So I think that for me was like amazing. And every time I moved to a new place, like when I moved into a new house or a new apartment, I'd always try to think of like what area is like my choreography area. Right. When I go to look at a house, or if I go to look at an apartment, I'm like, cool bedroom, cool kitchen. Where am I going to be like creative? Like where is that going to take place? Because it can't be just like in your kitchen or like in your bedroom. I think like if you don't give the right energy to it, you're not gonna get the energy from it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people will just say like, I'm just gonna put headphones in my laptop and have the wire, and I'm just gonna choreograph like in the kitchen on the counter for a second.
Right.
But like, are you really expecting to do something substantial choreography wise? Like, if I'm gonna make a junior routine or something, I could do that. But if I'm gonna try to dive down into somewhere deep in my brain and come up with something really creative, I have to have a process. I have to have that habit. You know.
I see. Yeah.
So for me, it was like really taking in everything that influences me on a daily basis. I let everything sponge. Like when I'm on Instagram, I'm scrolling and just sponging. Like even if I'm seeing some movement, or how they shoot that, they used a little bit of slow motion into fast. Like this was kind of cool, but I don't like how much they did it.
Right.
When I'm watching TV, when I go to a movie, how they start the shot, how they end the shot. Sometimes I'm in my notes while I'm watching a movie. I see how they introed it down here, and then the conversation takes place at the fridge, then goes back to the feet, and then they're out the door in the front yard. And I'm like, whoa, start at the feet, fridge, front door, yard. That was a really cool shot. You know?
Right.
So when I go to shoot, I might say like, start at the hat and then go down. You know what I mean? Like, I'll try to flip it a certain way. So I just try to sponge everything that I can on every single day. And then when I go into my creative process, it's about clearing that all out. You know what I mean? And just opening up space for me and my style. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of like taking the walk and like listening to the music, taking a walk around the block as an example. The walk around the block for me would be, okay, everything that you've seen is now out of arm's reach. It's just right over there. I still know about it, but it's just over there. And not everything I'm going to create takes place from my finger to this finger to this finger, you know? And not out there.
Got it.
And I don't ever want to be reaching for
Got it.
Feel me? So then
y'all just listening to that. I hope you just listening to that.
So when I go to makeup, especially when I go to makeup choreography, I have those moments before choreography where I'm really just trying to get out of myself, like get out of my brain, you know, and get out of like, will this be cool? Will this be hard for them? Like, should I not go to the ground? Should I like all these things that I'm trying to take into consideration? I try to not take into consideration.
Right.
And I think that's when I am able to create the best stuff.
Absolutely, man. So, and you know what? I said one more thing, but I do want you to talk about it really quickly. Quickly, Moving Monuments.
Moving Monuments, yeah. So Moving Monuments is a brand I started about 2 years ago, and I really like the motto of Moving. Like our kind of quote is "Make history today." So, and I think it's kind of cool how like history is history, but if you can make it on a daily basis and you're just thinking, it's about progression, and every single day you can wake up and how do I make history? Like whatever you do today will be history tomorrow. So make it something special, you know? And then as far as like how all the clothes, the apparel side of it is all activewear. So it's all like dry fit activewear for, you know, skateboard, whatever you're doing, dancing especially. And Moving Monuments, the name comes from like when people die and they've made a great life for themselves and they've made history, somebody makes a monument or makes a statue to remember them. But if we're making history today in our lives, we are moving monuments. So I'm saying?
Yeah,
so we are monuments that are alive right now. And as dancers, we're moving monuments.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? So it's not like moving monuments, like I go to a statue and move it. You personally are the monument.
Got it.
If you have a mindset of every single day, how can I make history? And that doesn't mean do something epic every day, but like how can I evolve myself personally, or how can I sit down and have an idea that maybe takes to a video that leads to more things, and I have that idea today, you know,
man.
Then you're making history today, and you are a moving monument.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love it, man. David, where can we find you on the socials?
David Moore TV across the board. So
David Moore TV.
Yeah, YouTube, David Moore TV, Insta, David Moore TV, Twitter. Yeah,
absolutely, man. We have some gems in this interview, man. David, thank you so much for coming by, dude. I'm so proud of you, dog.
Thanks, man.
And I'm looking forward to seeing the continuous evolution, my dude.
Yes, likewise.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you.
All right.
Boom. Thank you.